Hello, and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann.
So, today we're going to be talking about the language of cancer, so much more than just the oncological medical terms. But before we get into that, let's get grounded with our past check in. Sherry Ann, will you start us off?
And yes. So physically, I am a 4.2, emotionally 4.4, spirit 4.5, and hope 4.5. And my word is settling, as in settling in, not like settling, like compromise, like settling in.
Got it. I understand the flavor in which your settle is here today. Okay. Physically, I am a 4.3, emotionally a 4.5, spirits a 4.4, hope is a 4.25, and my word is I can do it. All right. So we're talking the language of cancer, and like I said, so much more than the general like medical terminology that sometimes we feel like we're forced to learn when we have cancer in our lives, whether we're the one being diagnosed or it's been in our lives for a long time, or if you're a caregiver. We're talking about the language of cancer and the way that cancer is written about and spoken about, the idea of that toxic positivity that comes up, and the idea of battling your cancer, but even just the words that you want to speak when you have cancer. Like, how are we communicating with it, and what is the world of cancer, how are they already communicating, and how is that
Yes,
impacting?
yes. And I want to add into that whole um, soup of words to the ones that we speak to ourselves. So it's like the external words that we're communicating to others about, and then the words that we're using to ourselves, communicating to ourselves.
Yeah. Which,
And I just want to say, I mean, you started with but with I can do it, and mine was settling in, and I had to explain the settling and the settling in, and I just noticed, wow, the power of words. Right? It's like I didn't want to be misconstrued by someone thinking that I'm settling for something, but that I really want them to get me. And then your I can do it is a phrase I hear all the time, and also I can't do it in a cancer journey. So it's like, ooh, those words are applicable to everyday life, but also, hey, what are we saying, really?
yeah. So like the importance here of what we're wanting to talk about is the words that we're using. The words that we're using to those around us, the words that we're consuming, and the words that we're speaking to ourselves. Or ourselves. It's a lot. And sometimes, individuals are not like parsing through every single individual word to pull from meaning. Um, but it becomes really important when you want clarity and when you want um, a deeper understanding of what's going on for you and what you really need, because sometimes we're so influenced by the words that surround us and we don't even think about it. Um, and it makes us sometimes tune out our own voice.
Yes, we're not careful with our words, just in general. It's like, oh, well, they say battle, so let me talk about this in the context of a battle, where the Cancer Journey Institute does not appreciate that word when someone's going through their cancer because it's not win or lose. We've said this before, but I was watching one of my favorite shows, Graham Norton, the other day, and it's the old episode, but there was this one woman who is a very famous comedian, and she was talking about her cancer experience, and they brought up the whole word battle. And then she goes, that is not how I like it. And she's so straightforward. And I want to kind of grab a clip of it because she said everything that we say, that it is an experience that you're going through, not something that you have to fight through. Because the truth is, How are you fighting your cells? I mean, there's some. Mm, your body does do that naturally, and there is some help that we can do with visualization and meditation and things like that. But we're not actually, there with a machine gun going, okay, I'm going to obliterate you cells. I mean, it's got that energy when you say battle, and whew, it's violent. I don't think that it's helpful to our being. And so that's kind of just a depiction or example of how words have impact when we're like, I gotta get ready for this battle.
Right, right. And that's why we have deliberately chosen to say that we don't see cancer as a battle. It's a journey. We're walking alongside it. And so word choice for us, even from like our mission at the very base, it's around that. And we want to make sure that people don't feel as though they're losing when things are tough. It's not a battle against your cancer. But battle is such a overused really term for cancer, and I really understand where it came from, and I can have honor and respect for those who like to see it that way. But I do think that there's a finality to it. There's a war within ourselves, and it's doing that already within you. We don't need to add to that warriorness, that like needing to like warrior up, shield yourself. Like if anything, like let's be gentle. Let's soften with ourselves. Let's not blame ourselves, because really you're at war with yourself if you're choosing to be in a battle.
When you said gentle, all of a sudden my body just went, ah. And it is the words that we say out loud that our body also hears. So when you say gentle, I hear kindness, I hear love, I hear um, honoring. And I know that that's not always accessible, kind of like toxic positivity, where we're like, okay, I'm going through this and I am okay. So I can pull this out in a heartbeat because positivity is my number one. And I have to be careful. It's like, all right, wait. What's the lens that you really are seeing things through versus what you feel like you have to? And that's the thing about cancer and the whole ribbon movement is that tries to stoke that positivity. I get it. Its attitude is so important. There have studies been done on how attitude plays out in the healing. Back to the words, right? The words we say to ourselves. However, ignoring what's really here and processing that so that you can find the true positivity, it's optimism and hope, like stoking our hope. Positivity doesn't lead us directly into hope. Hope is that anticipation and the expectation of the future that is in favor of what you want. So, again, the words, um, our body and our cells are listening.
Yeah. And to double click on that like toxic positivity, we did say this in one other episode that there's like toxic positivity, positivity, and hope. And um hope is that like understanding that things may be hard right now. The hard things will always come up, but we can have an optimistic outlook for the future, and trust and faith that something positive and happy and good will occur. um Positivity is kind of that like middle ground of like, yeah, being positive and being bright and happy and lofty. Toxic positivity is almost like, well, get out of the pit, come on now, like let's be positive and just say it's going to be fine. And while there is value to just being like, sometimes just saying something positive will help lift me, the toxic positivity becomes a crutch, as does calling cancer a battle, because then it's almost like there's this forcefulness to it that's like, let's get you out of there, let's get you out of the pit, and let's like just move on and keep going and keep pushing and keep that forcefulness of it that is really in opposition with the just being with the uncomfortable feelings of cancer, the inevitable uncomfortable feelings of cancer, because when we're in a place of toxic positivity and holding that, we don't allow ourselves to even be like, cancer is bad. Cancer is not a fun experience to go through. Cancer is hard. But when you tell people to like, just be positive, it causes further separation between the humanness of the experience, and it makes you feel like, okay, well, if my brain and my the words that I say are just positive, then like, and forcefully positive, like everything in here will just be fixed, or I don't have to worry about it, or my medical team's doing it and I don't have to think about it, and there are blinders over my eyes now, and it's like, well, it's all gonna be fine, it's all gonna be fine. Day to day, minute to minute, hour to hour, like things are gonna feel different. And like, gosh, if you gave yourself space to be like, actually, I'm gonna cry now because I need to release that, instead of feeling like I have to be happy and I'm not allowed to be scared or afraid or disappointment or any of those hard emotions that we're already unfamiliar with, to be able to embrace them and say like, yeah, that's real. You become more familiar with all the different facets of yourself, to be able to really know yourself, know what's true for you, and not feel like you're masked or cloaked in this toxic positivity, or maybe it just feels like regular positivity for you, but feel like there's something that you have to hide behind. There's no reason to hide. This experience is really hard. Really,
Yes, and
really
I love that word hide because I think we hide behind our words. Let's see, what are other words that people say during a cancer experience? I've got it. It's all fine. It'll be okay. So those are the ones that kind of mask what's really going on. It's almost like I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to bother you. I'm almost protecting you and me from the reality. Um, and then there's I'm sad. Well, now we're going into feeling words. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm scared, and we're not realizing that as we say it, we're becoming it. It's kind of like when you said gentle, and all of a sudden I took on that word and went, "Oh, gentle." Not only is it a reminder, but it almost feels like it's like a call to action. It's like, "Oh, if I'm fearful and I say I'm fearful, then I'm going to stay in fear, and then I I don't know what to do with that because that's too scary to be there because it's all consuming. And so now I'm stuck. So if I don't say the words and I go with the words that I think everybody wants to hear and what I want to hear, then maybe that will become my reality. Ooh, this is like a seesaw here.
You know what's so funny though is that as you're saying this, what I'm feeling, because I'm going along with the feeling, right, of saying this and being scared to even say the bad things or whatever, is our last episode we touched on resentment, and that's what's coming up for me here. Is that even resentment for myself for not letting me feel those negative emotions, right? And for not letting myself be fearful. And so then it starts to come out when I'm trying to communicate with someone who's maybe there for me, right? Um, Especially if I'm not giving myself a place to put these emotions, like that resentment kind of builds like an attitude and makes even the like positivity that felt good before lean into toxic. Being like, yeah, well, I'm fine. No one needs to worry about me. I've got this, whatever. And so then we become that resentment like sits so deeply with us that the words that we start using for the people around us and this energy that we hold shift, and it shifts into this like attitude of like, yeah, I don't need anyone, but it's more, it really has more of the tone of like, no one's helping me, no one's there for me, like. And then you start to kind of have this attitude around other people because you're saying things that are like, I don't need anyone's help when you do need someone's help. And so then no one's helping you, and or no one's giving you what you need because you're not asking for what you need because you don't want to be needy. And there's this whole cycle of back and forth where anyone out there who wants to help you or is just in your life is starting to get these like mixed messages because they feel your energy of like, why are you upset? But also you're saying that you're fine, and like I don't know what my entry point is there when you're saying these words, and sometimes you'll bubble over, boil over, not just bubble. It's a hard boil over, and then all of a sudden it's like this spew, and no one is thinking about their word choice when they are in that place of like, no one ever wants to help me. I'm going through this really tough thing, and people are like, whoa, we had no idea, and you're blaming it all on us because now this person who is experiencing this internal resentment is like spewing it all over the place for people who wanted to help and maybe don't know how to help. And wow, I could see this coming up for so many cancer people, like that internal push and pull, and there's a lot there. Like I feel like I just made a mess and that we need to talk about now.
Well, to net that down, you're talking about separation, and we're not separate beings. Yes, there's introverts and extroverts. It doesn't really matter. We all want to know and to feel like we're connected, regardless of whether we're, actively doing it. We still want to know that we're connected. But if we're doing the, oh, I'm fine, and then we're creating the separation because we're afraid or whatever reason, and then we start feeling alone, tethered. That's when what you're talking about, the boiling over, it's like, wait a minute, I really want to be connected. So how do I communicate that I really want this and my true what I'm feeling and where I am without feeling like I need to protect myself and protect others. Like we protect our family because we don't want them to think, "Oh my God, she's imploding," or we've got a crisis here and we've got to fix it. We don't want anyone to fix us internally. Emotionally is really where I'm going. We want them to fix our body. That's why we're going to the doctor and we have our medical team. We're doing all of that. But we also still want to be us. And there's that place in cancer where people hold us tenderly and delicately, like we're delicate, fragile flowers. And so they're afraid to impinge too much or ask too much of us. And that also causes that separation. And if we're not using our words to communicate what we really need, then they don't know. Case in point, I was recovering from my stem cell transplant. Oof, really, kind of a dark place, but really low, low, low energy. And I remember um, in the goodness, the intent was always good that um, your dad would take you guys and everybody would leave. And they're like, you just rest here on that comfy lounge chair and watch TV. You guys would put a blanket, I had extra pillows. And then I would sit there and it would get dark. And so then all of a sudden darkness is here and the room is dark. And it's just the light from the TV. And I'm sitting there going, I am so alone. I know. I mean, please don't take this on. It's just this realization that I felt really separate, and here I am going through an experience. I don't really know what I want, but I would sure love to have help in trying to convey how I felt and what was going on, and having the words to articulate it. If I had a coach at that time, it would have been great to be like, can I just have 10 minutes? I'm sitting here feeling very separate, very alone, and I don't know what's going on. And I don't really know what I want because I know that they're trying to protect me. Um, so a coach would have been beautiful in that situation just to help me through a challenging episode during a challenging time.
Yeah. Especially when you said that you were really low energy at that time, which I know many, many cancer patients are experiencing. They're experiencing moments of absolute lows in energy, in their levels of like mental and emotional health. Like they're feeling really low. And it's not the time to be telling them this is what you should be doing or should be saying. Really, because everyone's completely different, we need to give them a space to just say whatever they want to say without any repercussions. Because that's also where a lot of um, the messy entanglements with our relationships happen, or when we're at a low point, cancer or not cancer, when we're at a low point and we're saying some really, we're all capable of saying some vile stuff to each other. Really capable. But sometimes we're only doing that because we just need to get the steam off the top. We just need to get it out of the way so we know what's really underneath there because we have not let ourselves put it anywhere else. Um, so, having a coach, having someone that's absolutely safe, again, we do not recommend family or friends for this practice because they hold little pieces of that, not purposefully and not necessarily against you, but sometimes you need to say things that you will, like, if you heard yourself say again, you'd be like, that was not me. I do not lay claim to any of those things. And the need for that freedom is enlightening and takes off so much weight off the individual. And then you get a lot of clarity of what you actually want and need moving forward once you get that initial frustration off, especially when you're at a point that's so low. I could only believe that negative ego is very loud.
Oh, for sure. Chemo brain, brain fog. It is there regardless of whatever treatment that you do, whether you're recovering from surgery or you're going through the chemical input into your body. I mean, I just remember, and I continue to this day, and I catch myself saying, I feel stupid. Okay, that's fine. But when I start going to the extreme, which is I am stupid, and if when I say it out loud, we always say there's magic in the telling, but who owns that? Me? Am I taking that on? Am I telling myself this is who I am now? Which is not an identity that I want. And it that just makes me feel sad, right? It's the way that we speak to ourselves and sometimes out loud about ourselves during a cancer journey because we are so low, because we feel like, what's my value? I'm a lump on the sofa. I don't have any capacity or energy to actually do things. And then when the brain fog or chemo brain comes in and I can't cognitively think well, I can't even finish a sentence. Now I'm really imploding because I'm like, what's the point of me?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a real place that's not spoken about enough with cancer. I feel like usually you see images of just like sad people who are bald, and it's so much more than that. And like what I'm thinking, like you said implode, that like really that really sticks with me because even people who are external processors or internal processors, that separation between I have cancer and everyone else doesn't and they need to go on with their lives and I'm over here. Like that's a huge separation that sometimes inadvertently continues to be made. That gap continues to grow. And as the person who has cancer or who is having this cancer experience is consuming media, different types of media, the words that are given to them when they're in a lower, more impressionable state become even more important. Like my wish right now is like anyone who's had a cancer experience is in a cancer experience, come here. Listen to this right now. I want you to know that you're so heard in how hard this is. And it doesn't take people being actively in treatment with you to understand your situation, and your situation is going to look different than everyone else's. What you need is someone who understands that you need a safe space. You need an extremely safe space for you to just say the worst thing you can possibly say and then be like, and it's gone. I said it. We don't have to think about it more, but you get to release that because the worst things we want to say bubble to the surface when we're really when we're feeling really low, and they feel really loud in the back of our head, and they stay there when we don't let them be heard and even hear them ourselves. Like, yes, it can help to write it down, it can help to exercise, but like that, there's like a sentence that I think that's like streaming around in everyone's head right now that seems like the craziest thing they could possibly say, that's just like vibrating back there, that they know isn't true, but sometimes it feels really true, that wants to be said. So imagine having a cancer journey coach who's like, say it, say the worst thing you could possibly say right now, like close your eyes and just like let it out. The power in that is crazy, crazy. The way that like it'll relieve you from feeling like you're in a battle, you have to stay positive, you have no value, you know, you have so much impact in this world, and we know that your impact that you want to have is not the most vile evil thing you could say, but there's so much more beneath that, so let's let that go and put it somewhere where we don't have to own it, and own whatever your journey really is for you now, because your journey is going to be so different than anyone else's, and it matters just as much.
Right. That sounds like your takeaway.
That is my takeaway. That's a good point. That is my takeaway. Do you want me to do my pesh now, or would you like to?
Yes, please.
Okay. So physically, I am a 4.4. Emotionally, I'm a 4.6. Spirit, a 4.5. And hope is a 4.4. And my word is trust.
Mm. You know, it's magic when you say and I say our words, because it just like it infuses the environment. And yet it's just your word for where you are right now. So my takeaway is the power of words. Like, because we slowed down and we really got into words that we say, words that we think, words that we hear, they're all super powerful. And we don't slow down enough to realize the impact of it. But we did during this conversation. And I want to just be conscious of that. Like, if I could walk away from this podcast right now and for the rest of the day be really conscious of the words that I'm saying and the impact that it's having on me, on others, just being in that noticing state, I'd love to come back and report on that just to see what it's like part two, or just kind of the impact of being conscious, something like that. And my PESH is physically 4.35, spirit 4.5. Oh, I forgot emotions. I'll come back. Emotions 4.45. Hope is 4.7. And my word is pondering.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next week with a new episode.
Have a lovely rest of the have a lovely rest of your day, and remember, you're more powerful than you realize.